And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fraud Management Workshop. While we are waiting for other participants to join, some practical information. If you want to see the slides full screen, please use the Windows icon on the right bottom of your page and make the screen full, because some of the slides might need more, let's say, zooming to see the information in there. My name is Panteha Pedram, and I am the Global Head of Value Added Services and Risk Products at Worldline Ingenico. I'm delighted to be here to present for you the fraud management setup at Ingenico Worldline. I'm starting with introducing my colleagues who are not here, and I am the representative of them, but they are all having a hand in providing the solution to you that would hopefully please you and your consumers. Obviously, the risk products and value-added services teams, product development team, fraud operations, the ones that actually provide services to you, your dedicated fraud managers, and the dispute managers, they are all involved in providing these tools and services to you. We don't want this to be one-side presentation, so please feel free to ask your question anytime you wish. I don't want to go through a, let's say, boring presentation of what kind of tools and services we use. Rather, I would like to keep the presentation focused on what kind of services we can provide to you. And if you are set for the end year, let's say, sales and the Christmas sales that is ahead of us. I start with the differences between the Christmas and New Year this year and the previous years. You might think, well, Corona is the very first one, but the ghosts of Christmas this year are quite different from last year. Well, you're right. Corona is the first one that I would mention. It is, it has its shadow above all of us and has changed the payment landscape quite significantly. But also, PSD2 is another, let's say, subject that has its shadow above the payment industry in 2021 and end year of 2020. Are we prepared? How can we help you in fraud management team? I start with the ghosts of Christmas this year. Well, the first thing is that we want to have the highest frictionless flow, which might be caused by PreDB2. Knowing that if you use your fraud solution pre-authorization, it will help with keeping your fraud down, sending more clean flow to your acquirers and to the issuers. That will cause the frictionless flow and less, let's say, interruption for your consumers. Remember, the lower fraud rate is the higher frictionless again. So take advantage of all the tools and services that Ingenico ePayments provides to you. And if you don't know what kind of tools and services we are offering to you, please stay tuned. I'm going through that in a minute in my presentation. More data is always the case. More data, more data, and more data. The more data you send to the issuers and acquirers, the higher chance of having frictionless flow for your transactions. Anything else? Yes, definitely. Remember, during Corona time, there are consumers that were not really online. They were not doing shopping online. One of them is me. And during the Corona time, they have started the online shopping experience. They are not on your platform for 6 months, so they don't fall within the concept of loyal consumers, but recognize them as your new loyal and get in contact with them. Let them feel that they are a consumer, not a transaction. Remember, with 3D V2 and with the authenticated transaction, you're not going to receive chargeback. And that means that the chargeback programs would not apply to you. But the schemes have changed their fraud programs. So make sure that you monitor your fraud very carefully, because that's going to be penalized by schemes and they are going to measure it carefully. One another thing is take advantage of alternative payments that are being provided to you. And when we talk about alternative payments, what we mean is those non-card-based payments. Their fraud landscape is quite different from the card payments. So I am going through them for you to see that what is the difference between the fraud in card and alternatives. This slide is a bit small, so you have to zoom in to see all the details, but basically there are alternative payments that are provided worldwide, and there are some that are provided within specific continents or even specific countries. I start with the ones that are provided worldwide, and mostly in the region that you're joining now. Apple Pay and Android Pay are the ones that are provided worldwide. We offer to you at Ingenico. They don't have redirects, so the consumer doesn't feel like they are leaving the payment page. At the same time, they have the advantage of receiving the refunds. And because of that layer of authentication that is behind them, the chargeback and fraud is lower in them than credit cards. PaySafe, Trustly, Direct Debit, and Afterpay are another ones that are being heavily supported in Europe. Rather than worldwide, but they have the same, let's say, story behind them with lower number of chargeback because of the layer of authentication that they have behind them. The ones that are provided mostly in, I would say, Asia, and they are very supported, very much supported and liked by the consumer are, for example, China Union Pay, Alipay, JCB, and WeChat Pay. Except for China Union Pay that has a redirect and actually has chargeback programs, the rest of them, they have that layer of authentication that prevents having chargeback in them. And they don't have a redirect, which makes it really easy for the consumer to feel like they are still within the payment page. Some of them are quite big in the country that they are being offered, like WeChat Pay, and very much liked by the consumers. We also have the ones like Ideal and so forth that are being supported in specific countries. But because of the lower fraud and the fact that consumers love them, they are the preferred payment methods by those countries. Take advantage of them. And if you don't know how to use them or you don't want more information about them, please don't hesitate to contact your account manager as well as the fraud managers, your dedicated fraud manager who can provide this information to you. So far we were talking about the ghosts of Christmas present, but I would also like to touch base on the ghosts of Christmas past. They are still very much there and they are present still. One of them is friendly fraud. But friendly fraud has not become less visible, even more visible now with the number of online shoppers and the fact that fraudsters and offenders, they can hide behind the crowd of shoppers that are coming to your website. So still they are there and very much present, and the numbers are increasing. Are you set to prevent them using your fraud solution? Is your customer service set to prevent them? Do you know the gaps in your system and you have identified them and prevented them by going to your website and having a clear message to the consumer? What is the circumstances, for example, if their goods are not delivered within the expected time, for example? Another one of the ghosts of Christmas past is the manual review. You still need to do the manual review, and that applies mostly for those retailers, for example, that they offer luxurious goods. And therefore, for those of you who have the manual review, remember that you're not going to have that time frame that you had in the past because of the number of transactions during this time. So make sure that you set up your fraud solution in a way that can automatically take a level of risk that was not within your appetite in the past, but just because your customer service and manual reviewers do not have that much time, you are moving them to automated solution. If you need time and let's say and help and support from Ingenico fraud managers, please don't hesitate to contact them and ask for help. They are there to help you to change your fraud setup in a way that would support the manual review and automated solution at the same time. Now touching base on the tools that we offer to you. So I'm going through the portfolio of fraud management systems that Ingenico offers, and I'm going to count the characteristic of each of them for you, and please let us know if you need more help on those. So ACI offers retail decisions via Ingenico, and that is a rule-based plus the machine learning environment. The rules are bespoke and adjustable to your business and includes device ID, and at the same time very much flexible to be offered in fully automated, semi-automated, or fully manual mode if you wish. Another offer that we have is in-house device fingerprinting offered by a certified, which is not only integrated within our fraud solutions, but at the same time being offered standalone. That's a perfect solution for those who have in-house tool and they want to take advantage of another layer of information being added to their in-house fraud solution. It provides more than 200 data files that can be integrated into your system, which we can be used not only in identifying fraud, but also in identifying the loyal consumers, for example, that we just talked about them, and getting in touch with the frequent buyers, for example. Last but not least, in our fraud offer is Frogster, which is a fully artificial intelligence-based fraud solution that guarantees the chargebacks. As mentioned, it is fully automated, it doesn't require any manual reviews, and at the same time provides the guarantee on fraud-related chargebacks. So, especially for this time of the year when you don't have the capacity to manually review the transaction, is a perfect solution that you can use in addition to your current fraud setup. My presentation here has ended, and I would like to just mention that our fraud managers are very much here and happy to help you, regardless if you use our fraud solutions or not. We are happy to help you and provide support to your teams. You can reach out to our fraud team. Their email is mentioned here, and your dedicated fraud manager, if you don't know them, will get in touch with you. It is open for question. So the question is here: who will be liable for the chargeback value, Ingenico or the merchant? So in case you are using the fraud solutions that I just mentioned here, ACI and Certify, the liability of the chargebacks are with yourselves as merchants. If you use Frogster, which is providing the chargeback guarantee, the liability of the chargeback, I wouldn't mention the liability, is more like an insurance model. The price of the chargeback is being paid by Frogster on fraud-related chargeback. Those chargeback with fraud reason code. That means not only the price of the chargeback, which is like as much as it is in your currency, like 25 euros, but also the value of the goods are being covered by that model. So you're getting paid by Frogster for those chargebacks. Are there any other thing that you would like to know about them? Did that answer your question? Perfect. Sure, happy and thanks for joining the workshop. I will be still in the booth. If you would like to join the booth later for a one-to-one discussion, I will be there and happy to help you and answer to your questions. If there are no more questions, I will close the floor and wish you a wonderful day for the rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of the workshops and the programs.